What's going on, everybody? I'm Primalliquid and welcome to my top 7 tips and tricks that all players need to know going into Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Now, these are things that I wish I knew very early on, because it would have saved me so much time and a lot of trouble. So let's talk about them, shall we? First and foremost is going to be a little tip regarding fast travel. Now, when you actually open up the map, okay, you see all of these little icons on the map, right? You can fast travel to every single one of these. Now, when I first started playing, I would go a little out of my way to grab them, you know, when they popped up, because obviously when you interact with a tower, it does highlight a bunch of them on the map and so on and so forth. However, I would mainly carry on with the story for that particular area before I went through clearing all of the actual markers off. However, that's a really bad way of doing it, because as I say, every single one you can fast travel to. So obviously these little hexagons right here, these are just area location markers, which you can fast travel to pretty much instantly as soon as you unlock them. However, things like the excavations, the towers, the random fights, so the fiend intels, the life springs, the chocobo stops, and so on and so forth, you can fast travel to every single one of these. Okay, this means that when you actually do fast travel, or should I say when you unlock fast travel early on, you will then start being able to really get around, which does save a lot of time, especially when you actually start doing these side quests. And of course, once you're later in the game, previous areas will populate more side quests as well. This is going to allow you to get around so much easier, especially when you are also trying to locate some materials if you decide not to buy them. So yeah, make sure you actually get these as soon as you can, even if it means it going out of your way. Obviously, if you have a story marker up here and you have something to unlock all the way down here, maybe not go that far out of your way, but if you have a story icon here, then I would say at least tackle this general vicinity for them. Definitely worthwhile. Now, obviously in the grasslands, it's not super amazing because it's not a super big area. It's not that awkward to get around, you know, there's a lot of openness. However, in later areas, yeah, there's going to be some bad ones, especially in places like Gongaga. That one, you really want to unlock all the fast travel locations ASAP. Now, let's move on to the second one, shall we? So for the second one, we're still going to be looking at the actual map, okay? This one is going to be about chocobos. Now, obviously, unlocking chocobos, the very first one is done as part of the actual story. It's basically a mandatory unlock, you know, for going through the swamp to fight Midgardstormer. However, in each area, well, I can't say each area, in most areas, there will be a chocobo local to the region, okay? Now, spoiler, you are about to find out the regions in the video. If you do not want to actually know what regions are in the game, then skip ahead so you can avoid this one. Now, the first one in the grasslands is located right here. As I say, this is part of the story. You are directed to this. However, for the rest of the areas, you are not given a location for the chocobo and you have to find it yourself. Now, this is incredibly important for getting around quickly and also helping to farm materials. Now, in the Junon area, okay, the chocobo will have the ability to climb walls, and you are going to need this to get around pretty much this entire section all over here. If you actually want to get pretty much all of this stuff, you are going to need the chocobo. So when you get to Junon, you start here after coming out of the Mithril mine. You want to head down the ramp and then immediately go over to the left. There is the chocobo ranch right here. However, you don't need to go there. You can just go straight for the chocobo tracks right there. Then, once we get to the Coral region, now, Coral region, we don't really need to do anything. You see, there isn't actually a chocobo that you need to find in this area. Instead, when you start off at Costa del Sol after the boat ride, at the exit of Costa del Sol, there is a bird stable. So this is essentially like Bill's Ranch and so on and so forth. Go to that, and in the shop, right, if I remember correctly, it was 300 gil. There is a pass to rent a chocobo. This is how you unlock the chocobo for this region. It's just a normal chocobo. However, the chocobo is only usable in this general vicinity. Okay, it's only usable here. Once you get to the actual desert region, you cannot use your Chocobo. But again, it's still really, really important for, you know, excavation chips and so on and so forth. Then, once we get to the Gongaga region, okay, this one is kind of annoying because you do need the Chocobo to really get around. However, you do not have to find the Chocobo, as it will be given to you as part of the story more towards around probably the middle to the end of the actual Gongaga story area. So again, don't worry too much about that one. You will unlock it as part of the story. For Cosmo Canyon, we do have to find the Chocobo here. Now, once you start in Cosmo Canyon, right here, you will have to move along the cliffside. Okay, and eventually you'll come to the Chocobo Ranch just here. Simply go north from the Chocobo Ranch, weaving between the mountains, and you'll find the Chocobo just up here. The Chocobo in Cosmo Canyon has the ability to glide. There are a bunch of ramps spread all over the place, noted by the little Chocobo icons in the hexagons. And once you go over those ramps, you'll be able to glide a decent distance. Very important for Cosmo Canyon. Now, let's move on to Nibble region or Nibble region. So again, once you start here at the airstrip, it will be right in front of you pretty much. It can be kind of easy to miss. You basically have to come down this little ramp. You'll get the tower right here. Once you activate that tower though, it will put it on your map, so don't worry. But you basically just walk up through the small cliff here and it's right there. So again, make sure you get this ASAP. Okay, now that the spoiler section is over, let's talk about unique bosses. And when I say unique bosses, it's not really a boss, it's more so a unique mob. Each region has its own version of this mob. Now, one of them is a Great Marlborough, one of them is a Tomberry King, and so on and so forth. In order to unlock these, okay, which are called classified intel. In order to unlock these, you must collect the life spring data. So as you can see right here, no, that's not the one, that's just the expedition. Oh wait, no, that is the one. Right, so as you can see right here, we have a life spring right there. Each region will have a different amount of them. Some have 4, some have 6, and so on and so forth. As you start collecting them, you will start getting extra intel from Chadley. So if we take a look here really quick, as you can see down in the bottom right there, discoveries. So for getting the life springs, you'll get excavation intels for transmuter chips, and once you've got all of them, you will unlock the classified intel for the unique mob. Now, these mobs can be farmed, and they do drop rare materials which you need for item transmutation. They are also pretty decent EXP farms when you actually unlock them. However, realistically, the only one you're probably going to farm is going to be the Grasslands one, simply due to the fact the later area runs just take too much time to realistically be a good EXP farm. Okay, now that we've gone through the unique mobs, let's go ahead and talk about folio unlocks. Now, folios are a new mechanic in Rebirth, and they're essentially a bunch of skills for your characters. Now, there are two things that basically matter when unlocking folios. Okay, there's your party level and there's your weapon level. So as your weapon levels up, you will earn SP. As your character levels up, you will earn SP. There are books in the game which are rewards from side quests and so on forth, which will give you SP. Now, once your party level levels up, you will gain access to more and more folios. These can be unique skills, synergy skills, damage buffs, extra stats, faster ATB, faster limit breaks, and so on and so forth. However, there are some unique ones which I strongly suggest going for ASAP, and those are these purple ones. Okay, these are abilities that you can use which are all elemental. Each character can have all 4 elements, but basically what these are, this is essentially a magic attack that does not cost MP, and they have extra effects. So Cloud, for example, has the chain attack effect. This means whenever Cloud uses these abilities on a mob, it will bounce off that mob and hit another one. Then you have Era, for example, who has slightly lower range, but it comes out as like a shotgun, so quite good AoE range if you are close to the enemy. You have Barrett, for example, who will never miss, so as soon as Barrett uses that ability, it is guaranteed to hit the target no matter what, which is actually really important later on, by the way. But the most important reason I say these are the best abilities to get early on, okay, if you get the fire one, if you get wildfire with Cloud, that is going to pressure enemies, it's going to stagger enemies, it's going to murder enemies ridiculously fast. And that's going to be the case pretty much throughout the whole game. Sure, it won't quite murder them as quickly once you start getting a bit through the game, but these are essential until you get the magnify materia, which unfortunately is way later in the game than I think any of us really expected. But yeah, these are going to be vital. Get these ASAP. When it comes to other unique folios worth getting, definitely get Ranged Blade with Cloud. The reason for this is when you're partnering with Barrett or Red, this gives Cloud a really good range ability, specifically Red 13s with Howling Smash. This is pretty much guaranteed to target the weakness of any flying enemy in the grasslands and in the Junon region. Later areas, they will have some different weaknesses, but again, a super good skill early on. Okay, now let's talk about something else, something that's actually going to be worthwhile throughout the entire game, and that is AP farming. Now obviously when it comes to leveling up your materia, you are going to need AP. Now there are two ways you can do this. Firstly, you can just run around the map fighting enemies, and then any materia on all of your characters will benefit from the AP. The problem is that is actually really slow. Instead, what you want to do is load up characters, right, with the AP materia, which increases AP earned for linked materia by 100%. You can get the first one of these in the Mithril Mine, then you can get some from Chadley's combat simulator as well, but there's still only a couple of them. So again, make sure you have this in a paired slot. I know I don't right now, that's just because I've just changed it out to show you guys something, but again, once like this video is done, I'm going to be swapping that back, do not worry. But yeah, so make sure you have the AP up materia. Then some other things that really help are the first strike materia, okay? Ideally, a mastered one. If you don't have it mastered, don't worry, it's not the end of the world. Something else that's beneficial is an ATB boost materia. That is quite good as well. However, if you are actually further on in the game, or when you get further on in the game, you can actually get a second first strike materia as well, coming from the combat simulator. Obviously mine I haven't bothered doing anything with just yet, but once that's mastered and I have both of them mastered, that'll essentially give me 2 full ATB bars at the start of a fight. Now, once you've got your materia paired up that you actually want to use, you want to go to Chadley. For this, we are going to use the combat simulator. I have tried it in multiple areas throughout the game, both one-time visit locations and farming locations, just trying to find a really good AP farm. Unfortunately, nothing comes even close to being as good as the Grasslands region Intel 1. Now, in order to unlock this, you have to fight 5 different enemies in the Grasslands, so super easy to unlock, and then just go into it. Now, if you're doing this early on, you want to use those folio abilities I mentioned previously, such as Wildfire and Snow Flurry. Me, however, because I'm later on in the game, I'm going to be using my Magnify materia, where I'm just going to hit them with Blizzard and Fire. Now, as you can see, it's just going to one-shot them pretty much all, okay? So straight off the bat, we just got 3 AP there. Yeah, it's not a lot, I know, it's terrible. Don't worry, it's going to get better. Basically, we're going to fight 5 stages right now, and with our materia, well, with our Magnify materia and our basic elemental spell, remember we're only using the first tier spell here, we are going to be one-shotting all of these enemies, okay, which is going to give us 28 AP in 27 seconds, pretty much. So with that, okay, we're talking nearly 7,000 AP an hour using the AP up materia. if you're doing this without the AP up materia, then yeah, you are only going to get the standard 28 AP per run instead of 56 using the AP up. Again, right now I'm not using it just to show you the actual base effect pretty much, and as you can see, we just got another 6 right there, and this is pretty much the best AP farming method I've found so far throughout the game. For those curious, I have nearly 60 hours on the clock. I'm not completely finished with the game just yet. I do have a couple more chapters, but obviously this is designed, well, this is just an early farm anyway, so that doesn't really matter too much. Either way, there's nothing in the first half of the game that even comes close to being as good as this method anyway. So let's move on to the next one, shall we? Okay, so for the next tip, we're going to talk about materials. Now, the reason that you actually want materials is for item transmutation. So this is going to be how you make a bunch of gear, well, really good gear. It's how you're going to enhance gear, make accessories, make some key items which you need for side quests, and of course, all your consumables. Now, you might think when starting throughout the game that you want to collect all the materials as soon as you see them. Materials are denoted by these little pop-up icons right here. You've got grey for common items and gold for rarer items, and you just have to run around grabbing them all. You might see some while you're going on a quest or something like that and think, oh, I'm going to go grab them. Oh, I'm going to go grab them all. Here's the thing, right? Do not go out of your way for these. Like, seriously, do not go out of your way for these. Now, whether you have the Kupo charm or not, you are going to be swimming in transmutation materials. It's like, if we just go to my actual material section right now, and I can show you guys. So, as you can see, I've got tons. Now, yes, there are some like mithril ore, which I don't have many of. These are exceedingly rare and really, really difficult to actually farm. But for the majority of them, I've got more than I'm ever going to use. And for a lot of the items, once you make one, you're probably not going to make another one, to be fair. So again, don't go out of your way trying to get some extra materials. And another reason why you shouldn't really go out of your way to get extra materials is quite simple. When you get to a new region, okay, the Chocobo shop in that particular region will actually then start to sell materials from the previous region. So obviously I've advanced quite far through the game. If we speak to the shop here in the grasslands, as you can see, I can buy basically everything. You know, like I can buy a ton of them. Well, maybe other than the cosmetite ore, because they're incredibly expensive. Don't worry, I have a good gill farming video coming. But yeah, you can literally just buy any materials that you actually need. So even if you get to the end of the game and there's a few items you've not made, don't worry, you can literally just buy the materials. Which realistically, okay, actually buying the materials is a lot faster than going out of your way to farm them. Okay, now as I mentioned, I do have a really, really good guild guide coming. Unfortunately, it's not really worth doing though until you get to chapter 9. So I'm not going to talk about it in this video because it is a little bit later. Now, let's talk about the last tip. And this one is the one that I wish I knew really, really early. So here's the thing, right? When you get to Chocobo stops and you lift up the little pole, you get a gold Chocobo feather. You get a Chocobo feather. These golden plumes are used at Chocobo ranches to trade for gear. Okay, now you can get most of the Chocobo gear through the actual Chocobo shops. Some will come from side quests, very, very few though. And when you're on the world map, okay, these are cosmetic. So yeah, not amazing, you know, only cosmetic on the world map. Here's the thing, they actually serve another purpose, okay? So, when it comes to racing your chocobos, right, these different pieces of equipment will give your chocobo different abilities. So for example, one might increase its speed drastically, one might increase its acceleration, its cornering, its weight, and so on and so forth. You 100% want to get all of these, and I seriously wish I knew this while going through the game, because I actually got to a point where I was ignoring the chocobo stops because I just didn't care about the plumes, because I don't care about the cosmetic aspect of it. And then I got to Chocobo racing, realized how badly I'd shot myself in the foot, so now I'm basically trying to run around the map all over again, finding any Chocobo stops that I've missed, because I wasn't really caring about them while running throughout the game. So that one is on me, but again, make sure you get them all, even if it means going out of your way, because remember how I mentioned about the gill farming? Yeah, Chocobos are a good method for that. Not the best, but a good method. So, with that said though, everybody, those are my top 7 tips and tricks that I think all new players need to know for Rebirth. Still, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope it helps you on your epic adventure when you actually get your hands on the game tomorrow. But with all that said, everybody, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.